2022-24, again, special permit CAM, Mill Pond Holdings LLC, 1 Cemetery Street, facade review per conditions of approval.
This is the 1 Cemetery project located at the old Wells Fargo site in East Norwalk. I believe we kind of recall the approved elevations, hopefully. This is the northern elevation, which is the Cemetery Street. We broke it up into 4 main facades. We refer to those as the Italianate, the Mansion, the Three Sisters, and the Market Building. The comments were related to the upper story roof line connecting the Market Building and the westernmost Three Sisters, the upper story roof line connecting the Italianate building and the Mansion, a cupola atop the Market Building, and the Market Building to have some more discrete or distinct entry elements. This is around the back of the building, or the eastern facade, the Italianate and the rear oyster barn. We had some southerly facing elevation where you can see the oyster barn, the Italianate and the Market Building. And then the East Avenue facade, most prominent would be the Market Building, and then the oyster barn, and the remaining building that you're seeing here is stepped back substantially, about 100 feet or more from the street facade. So that's in the background and not prominent. Building B, which is kind of more towards Gregory Avenue, was not really under discussion. It hasn't really changed from the approval. So the proposed updates, the Italianate, not the oyster barn there, the Three Sisters and the Market Building, all in the Mansion, all still retain their general character and massing. Oyster barn and Italianate on this side didn't really change substantially. All, again, massing stayed the same. This is the southern facade. We didn't see any substantial changes there. And the eastern facade down below here, again, no real substantial changes in the overall elevation. Getting to the responses, the conditions, this just indicates that we had 3C3 here, 3C2 here, 3C4 and 3C5 related to the Market Building, covering those each individually. And there was also, you had a 3C4 on the eastern elevation, western elevation, and 3C5 also on the western elevation. But very specifically, this is the slice between the Market Building and the Three Sisters. So this is what was approved. We had a pitched roof in this gap, and there's a passage that goes back to the public part of the courtyard that lets you transit from Cemetery Street through the building, through this covered passage to the public courtyard and back. So we revised that to kind of provide more definition between the Three Sisters and the Market Building, and kind of separate those roof lines and just give it a little bit more character. So we refined the window treatment there, the materials, and the archway composition a little bit, but the big move there was just going to a more flat cornice, more similar to the Three Sisters, and separating the roof line from the Market Building, which we feel like really accomplished that intent of reducing the massing and providing more distinct separation between the two buildings. The other comment was very similar, and this was something that we were wrestling with throughout the approval process, was kind of how to treat this element of the Italianate. We had more of a squarish tower element at one point. We were back and forth with the design reviewer, Bob Griswatz from DiCarlo and Dahl, a few times, and had a couple iterations of that. And finally, as the approval came through, we went back through and looked at it, and it came up with this composition, which is still essentially in the same plane, but we stepped the upper story back, changed the vocabulary a little bit, and brought the water table stone veneer up, and added in a third window down here. So the composition of the 3 windows is a little bit of a change from what was going on there before, and also the step back. So that really helps 3-dimensionally as well, to just break up the massing of those 2 facades and provide more spatial separation between the Mansion and the Italianate. And we feel that's a very a more successful intervention and a good way to treat those two buildings. Helps that prominent corner as you're coming around Cemetery Street at the higher elevation and looking down at the facades, lets that Italianate corner read a little bit stronger than the roof line resolve, which was a tricky condition. So very happy with the way that worked out. Cupola was added. That was another design comment, not back for you as for approval, but just showing that we did pick that up. And then the same thing, we added canopies and entries at East Avenue and Cemetery Street at those locations. And I can just get back really quick to, so those canopies were also added at these two locations for the potential retail spaces there. And there is one on the courtyard facade as well. But just providing weather coverage to patrons of that space. And that's really the extent of the changes.
I have just a quick question. I see that you've raised up that stone facade. Are any of the lower sections of the buildings, are you using less resilient materials than you had originally proposed?
No, it's
Okay,
all
so
the materials are.
There's no cement panels, that sort of thing, on the lower sections of the buildings?
No, the most of the trim work, decorative trim work is going to be likely to be composite wood material, so like an AZEK or a clear composite lumber product. The bases were always a veneered stone,
Right.
for the most part. Go back to one of the other elevations. Especially on Cemetery Street, most of this is buffered with planters that are a durable material, and the actual facade is either elevated or stepped back. So definitely on the Cemetery Street, you've got more durable materials at your touch points as you wrap around to the into the site as you're coming into the parking again. Up against the building, there's planters in place, so that keeps people back from the edge of the building. You do have fiber cement siding coming down to the planters, but that's not a walkable surface there. That's a planted surface, and not an uncommon condition for most buildings in downtown areas or residential properties. Around the entire back of the site, there's the stone veneer going up the whole first story. Southern facade, all stone veneer coming around the back there. The majority of the other places where the fiber cement would be the private part of the courtyard. So that's not a public accessible space, and where the public does have access via circulation or for viewing enjoyment. There are planters against the building that do keep them back away from the edge there. The market building is a brick and stone veneer, so that's covered. And there's a little bit of fiber cement in the passageway, but again, that's not as hazardous a location. It's covered from the weather. You're not going to be shoveling snow in there or doing any kind of activities that should really take a lot of abuse on the siding. So somebody's going to have to intentionally damage the building, which you really can't. You can only do so much.
Quick question. Has there been any further discussion with the city regarding access to the waterway and building that area out at all?
I have not. I mean, Steve and I have been, discussing all the resolution items. We have money that would be allocated to give to the city per our condition. I think it's $25,000. But I have not heard that anything about the intention to continue that work, although, per the resolution, that money is available for that condition.
We did apply for a trails grant that we were unsuccessful for. So we're going to seek, but the city did get money for the Harbor Loop Trail. So we are going to next grant round, we're going to try to seek that again.
Oh, good. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I had a question for them about the current construction, not related to the architectural changes. So I'm happy to hold that till later. Or
This is the only time we're going to be discussing this, so I'd say if you've got a question, even if you feel
Okay.
it's unrelated, ask it.
sure, okay. I know it appeared that construction was stalled for a period of time at the site. I discussed this with Steve, but there's some additional things. While the construction was stalled, the bank had already come down and a lot of the ground had already been taken up, and there were big piles of dirt and pavement and whatever. Multiple times when there were heavy rains, the mill pond turned brown. And when I peeked through, as well as I could see, sometimes it's hard to see through those green things, a number of the silt fences were down. And I just wanted to ask if you were aware of that, make sure that they're getting checked, whatever it is, every day or after every rainstorm or before every rainstorm. I don't know, but we didn't used to have the mill pond turning brown like that from runoff before there was a humongous pile of dirt.
So to answer your question, we put all the sediment and erosion controls in place per the plan and per the approval of this commission. We check on it daily. I mean, because we're like daily, and we absolutely check on it during and after all rainstorms. I personally have lifted grates and cleared debris out of filter fabric just because I want to make sure that everything's operating appropriately, as well as Steve's office, the zoning department has been out there, I think after every rainstorm and multiple times a week to investigate on their own and with me as well. And we found that it seems that everything is working appropriately. I've checked the water levels to make sure that nothing is flowing over the site, as in not too much water is accumulating and running over the site and not getting into the catch basins. And we go out and maintain the catch basins, which have very heavy duty filter fabric in place on every single one where debris is collected. And then we remove that debris to ensure that water is still able to get through that area, but it's also ensuring that all of the debris is being captured and not getting into the catch basin and then dispersing to anywhere else on the site. I can't speak particularly to the brownness of the water. I know that happens around Norwalk, unfortunately, when there's a large rainstorm, and we did have a few really, really big ones, but if there's any other issues or concern, feel free to reach out, and we can adjust the sediment erosion control as is necessary. But we do have it on site, and we do have people who are hired to maintain it after every rainstorming and continuously. As far as the construction goes, we demolished the building, and we have some ground improvement work and site work to continue. I would say over the next 30 days, we'll be in full swing of construction up until the site is 100% complete. So there's normally a little bit delay between demolition because you can get that before you get your building permits. It's just kind of some of the process, but we're going to be in full construction going forward.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Steve, what are we looking for here? A resolution or simply an approval?
I think just an approval of the modifications that were the requirements.
I think we can do this with a show of hands. All those in favor? Looks like it's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Have a
you.
great night.